Welcome to our presentation. My name is Sabine Poehler, and at Verifysoft I'm responsible for the product management. I have a short trip to the different levels of code coverage. There's a very simple approach when you talk about code coverage. That is the idea one would have in mind to say, okay, code coverage means that everything was executed during the test. And if you translate that to a real coverage level, that would mean that you are measuring statement coverage. That is, every statement of the code was executed during the test. There is one level of coverage that is more simple than statement coverage, that is called function coverage. When you are measuring function coverage, you only have to show that every function of the program was called at least once during the test. So this measure is a very simple measure because it's not measured what is really executed or tested inside of a function, but it just counts if the function was called or not. So we come to the next step beyond statement coverage, that is decision coverage. Now we are looking at decisions, for example in if statements. And the question is, was this decision executed as false and was it executed as true during a test? After the decision coverage, it goes in two directions. There are several theoretical measures called path coverage, and these kind of measures are looking at all possible combinations of a whole path through a program. In practical life, in real life, that is not of much interest, but we are looking at the decisions with a closer look. Now we are looking at each atomic condition inside of a decision. And the question for condition coverage is if every condition, every atomic part in a decision was tested as true and as false during the test. And then one step further or two steps further, we have a multi-condition coverage level. That means that every combination of true-false evaluation was tested during their test. And there's a relaxation of the multi-condition coverage that is called modified condition decision coverage, MCDC coverage. And in the safety critical development world, MCDC coverage is the highest level of coverage that is required by the safety standards. So for example, if you are developing according to ISO 26262, you have different requirements depending on the ASIL level you are developing for. In the highest ASIL level, in the ASIL level D, MCDC coverage is required for your tests. So the coverage is typically measured as a percentage. And we measure a ratio between the measure points that were actually tested and all measure points that should have been tested. And this ratio is given as test effectiveness ratio in TestWell CTC++. And now we can take a look at the reports, and I would like to explain you something about them. First of all, when you switch to the report, we show an overview over every file of your source code. So after some statistical data, when the report has been generated and so on, you see an overview over every source file in your project. In my example, I chose MCDC coverage as structural coverage, and beside that I see the statement coverage. And the report means now, for example, when I take the first file, the regulators, that means I have 79% of MCDC coverage and 83% of statement coverage. The full coverage is shown in blue. The second file would be an example for that. And this kind of report can be seen on a file level, but also on a function level. When I go to function summary, I see the same overview, but now for every function inside a file. You can make a drill down to the source code itself. If I click on any of these files, Here, for example, the last one, I come directly to the source code, and in the source code I see detailed information about the tested and the untested parts. Thank you for attending my presentation, and I wish you a pleasant day.